welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Purple Mafia is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. Merry Christmas, Purple Mafia faithful. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa as well. We can throw that in there in case you celebrate those. But Christmas Day, Viking game. The release of the show will definitely be after Christmas because of the typical second segment usually looks around the league and can't really look around the league, just a couple games so far after the Christmas game. So it kind of is what it is. First segment's recorded a little earlier. Second and third segments recorded Sunday evening. So that's why you're seeing the release of this show on Sunday evening, though I'm recording this segment a few days earlier. Watching the Gophers hopefully win the Guaranteed Rate Bowl as it's nearing halftime. They're finally doing something. Minnesota Vikings defeat the Detroit Lions in U.S. Bank Stadium in their whiteout. I'll take the classic white jerseys with white pants that they did in 2022 over this new stuff that they started, 2 years ago? I don't know. It does nothing for me. Or was it last year? Does nothing for me. Honestly, it's ugly and boring looking. But who'd have thunk it? The Vikings are now 8-8, and the Detroit Lions 8-8. And the Vikings swept the Lions this year, so technically the Vikings are ahead of the Detroit Lions in the standings?
Oh, yeah, right.
That right there, my friends, is an urban legend. How the heck are the Vikings ahead of the Detroit Lions? I don't know. I have no idea what happened to the Detroit Lions this year. It was basically like their defense was just not getting it done. And then today, what the heck? 10 points? It's like they did nothing. The conversation was constant about Jared Goff. Like, my God, he only had, 5 interceptions all year. He threw two. He threw 2 against the Vikings on Christmas Day. Crazy. Jahmyr Gibbs last year just ran right through the Vikings like they're warm butter. In this game, 17 carries, 41 rushes, 2.4 a carry. David Montgomery, 2.5 a carry, 10 rushes, 25 yards. When the Detroit Lions rush the ball 30 times, you think they're going to have like a bajillion yards and we're going to get destroyed and all that. Instead, they amassed, 68 yards against the Vikings on the ground with that. That's awful. Jared Goff, 29 attempts, 18 completions, 197 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Quarterback rating kind of hanging around where a lot of where J.J. McCarthy's numbers were when he was not good earlier this year, when he had his bad games, 64.9. So kind of like a reverse here. But let's not get too cocky about quarterbacks throwing the ball here. Max Brosmer, 62.2. Ouch. 9 of 16, 51 yards. 9 of 16, 51 yards. And, well, apparently, dare we say, 3 net yards passing.
What the hell can you do?
Urban legends, my friends. Urban legends. Yes, I guess that's what happens when you play on Christmas Day, I guess. I don't know. Weird things happen. I'm stunned. The Vikings are ahead of the Lions in the standings, 8-8. A chance to have a winning record. And unfortunately, every single one of these wins were after, these are post-mortem wins. Like we used to say, post-mortem wounds. I did a Timberwolves show years and years ago when everyone thought, the Wolves are on their way. I forget what year. That might have been 2013-ish. Yeah, 12-13 when people thought the Wolves were on their way to the playoffs, Rubio, Love era. But clearly the team was not going to make the playoffs. So it's like when they were losing the games, they just called those post-mortem wounds. These are post-mortem wins. That might be the title of this episode if I can remember when I'm done, because obviously the show won't be released for a bit after I'm saying this. Post-mortem wins, I guess. Yeah, 8-8. Somehow the Vikings are 8-8 after starting the season 4, getting to a 4-8 record. When it's like, they're done, they're finished. When they got destroyed by the Seattle Seahawks, and Brosmer started in that one and got shellacked. He started in this one and got shellacked as well. The Detroit defense actually kind of did a pretty good pass rush on the Vikings. Also, Kelly is out for the year with his 19th concussion. Well, not quite 19th, but you might as well add it up to something like that. It might as well be. It's time to retire. Obviously, Vikings need to get a younger, healthier center in the offseason. That was a miss. Kwesi's chances of retaining his job, I don't know, maybe 50-50. Some of you might say it's 40-60. Others might say 60-40. I don't know. We'll see. If McCarthy was an absolute bomb, then yeah, he's probably done because, well, but then again, that should go on the coach too. And then you have to start over as well because that's both of them are tied to McCarthy. But anyhow, the way this was handled, though, not so great. Obviously, bringing in Sam Howell as your backup in the first place. What the hell are we doing? There's like no backup plan. McCarthy's not Peyton Manning at 25. You know, you hope he's Peyton Manning at maybe like a 21-year-old Peyton Manning, 22-year-old Peyton Manning, where he wasn't really, spectacular yet. He threw a bunch of interceptions and stuff, but still, you saw flashes in Peyton Manning's rookie year, or, first year as a starter, which was his rookie year. McCarthy, yeah, we're seeing flashes too, but still not as good, I guess, yet. Maybe someday. Brosmer, there's nothing. Nothing. He's a third stringer. He's Brett Ripien with a Gopher jersey on, basically, last year. He's Brett Ripien. That's his future in the NFL. If you want to do an NFL comparison, he's Brett Ripien. In fact, Ripien might even be might actually have more of an overall future. And it's not trying to be a jerk and crap on the guy. I'd like to believe that Max Brosmer may have a future in this league as a second stringer someday, but not next year. Next year, he's a third stringer. If he's on an NFL roster, Max Brosmer is a third-string quarterback, and that's what you saw. You saw a third-string quarterback. You saw Sean Mannion out there. Remember a few years ago when Sean Mannion started, and it was basically like the Vikings were, in the spot they were going to be in. That was, 2019, I believe? The Vikings were already in the spot they were going to be. Like, win or lose, you weren't going to move up or down in the playoff seedings. You were stuck where you were, and you're going on the road in the first round. Wahoo, wahoo. What were we going to be, the 5th seed or something like that? And that was it. That was so like it was just kind of like whatever. You just kind of let it go. You sacrifice it and finish 11-5. And in this case, the Vikings defense was so darn good, still won the football game, and the running game was so darn good as Max Brosmer kind of played the running back merchant in this one. Aaron Jones had 11 rushes. He only amassed about 3 yards a carry with a long of 10. He did get in the end zone once, which is wonderful. Nice little semi-trick play or fun play, you could say. It's kind of like a out-of-the-box play with Jordan Addison. 65-yard handoff that Addison was able to break loose for a 65-yard touchdown. Very cool. So good for Jordan Addison there. He got a game ball from the coach. Justin Jefferson with a stellar 4 catches, 30 yards. He got 4 catches and 30 yards. But what do you expect? I mean, it's kind of like Randy Moss with Trent Walters. Kind of is. Remember? Randy Moss, Trent Walters, Oakland Raiders, they were still called at the time. Their second tenure there, of course. That's basically about what it was. Trent Walters probably would have more yards than the Brosmer, but it is what it is. I'm not even trying to crap on the guy. I'm just merely stating facts here. It is what it is. Vikings offense punted 7 stinking times, and unfortunately, Ryan Wright had 2 touchbacks, which is not Ryan Wright. But what do you expect? He had to punt 7 frickin' times. Miles Price, looked like he may have had a non-contact ACL injury, but it was a sprained ankle. So, all right. At least that's what it felt like at first. But then it's like, yeah, it was the ankle. It was a sprained ankle versus a non-contact ACL pop. Wow, he probably, kind of like David Palmer years ago, it's like he'd probably never be the same. Remember, Palmer wasn't even close. He didn't even resemble the special team stud he was. So Price, I'm very glad that it was not anything like that. Hopefully Price can be healthy. I bet he shouldn't even probably play next week. Just let him come back healthy next year and continue to hang on to the bleeping ball if possible. Remember how he had some fumbleitis earlier in the season. Blake Cashin with another 17 tackles. The Vikings defense, great. Brian Flores looking like the best defensive coordinator in the NFL in games that don't matter. As you remember, sometimes in those clutch moments, the defense wasn't all that great at times, even with Flores as your defensive coordinator. And it didn't look all that great against the Lions or the Rams last year. Twice. The Lions and the Rams, remember, smoked the Vikings twice. They each did. And the Vikings go from a team that won 14 games to a team that couldn't even get out of the first round of the playoffs. Couldn't even get out of the first round. You know what I mean? But Blake Cashman, 17 tackles. I mean, one thing he can do is tackle. I'm glad. He also got a sack. Andrew Van Ginkel with a sack and a half. Again, looking a lot like the Van Ginkel we got to know and love. Not getting a pick 6 or anything, but it is what it is. Turner shared that sack with Van Ginkel, so a half sack for him. Theo Jackson added a sack on that corner blitz, or safety blitz, excuse me, and one other safety blitz was by a guy who probably is a Hall of Famer. When you hear about like his numbers and such, and you put them together, he's up there with Rondé Barber as like the two of the only players ever to have a combination of interceptions and sacks. Greatest, only two players of all time to do that, and there were other numbers together that are also absolutely spectacular. It's pretty cool stuff. I want to get the exact numbers if I can. I apologize because I should have it up right away. Yes, Harris is okay. Thank you. Yeah, linked by a rare statistical milestone. Smith recently joined. Excuse me. Barber as the only two players with at least 38 career interceptions and 21 and a half sacks plus. So yes, he's probably a Hall of Famer. Not just because of that milestone, but others in general. Just kind of total numbers, and it's like, yes, he probably is a Hall of Famer. For a while there, I was thinking, yeah, he might be borderline-ish. Ring of Honor, it's like the second he's eligible, he has to be in that. I mean, duh. It's like, oh, he's eligible for the Ring of Honor? Harrison Smith, Ring of Honor ceremony. Yep. I know the Timberwolves are going to be like, Kevin Garnett. Yeah, well, of course, he's the best player in franchise history. I don't know, the guy's attitude sucks, kind of like a certain number 84 used to play for the Vikings. Kind of crappy attitude. But probably, well, then again, he didn't treat people as poorly as Moss did, though. I got to get off that. I probably lost like 50 more listeners, if I even have 50 listeners total remaining, with me crashing on Moss. But, yeah, I can't be the only Viking fan that was annoyed with that bull crap. I can't be, Seriously, I can't be. But very cool milestone. So once in a blue moon, I actually appreciate. See, this is where AI can come in handy. You can pick up information quickly, as long as it's accurate, not a big lie. Yeah. Watch out for some things. And, of course, like creating like conversations with... let's not even go there. That's a conversation for mysterious adventures. You might want to check that one out. I don't even want to think about that. But when it's just, statistics like sports stats, okay, AI can come in handy for that. Other stuff. I don't want to have a conversation with Kobe Bryant. Okay, that's creepy, like demonic stuff. Let's not go there. Okay, here I get preachy now. It's bad. Don't want to do that. You just don't. Kobe Bryant's not alive, Anyhow, I'm getting weird. Really weird. You're probably like, what's wrong with this dude? I'm not sure. Jalen Naylor goes from one of the guys who's like so valuable and all that stuff with J.J. McCarthy. But again, this is a different offense right now. It's a different situation at quarterback. One target, 0 zip and zilch after that. He was targeted once. Jordan Addison was targeted once. Zeros everywhere. Yes. Kind of like zeros everywhere. But he did have the 65-yard run, which earned him the game ball. It helped us win the game. Aaron Jones, obviously, wily veteran. He had a wonderful year, to be quite honest. I kind of crapped on him last year a bit because he was so oft injured, and the doggone fumbles could drive you absolutely nuts. I have PTSD from running backs fumbling over and over and over again. Can you imagine why? Let's see. I watched the January 2020 NFC title game, Saints and Vikings. Yeah. How do you not come out of that with some PTSD as a fan? Like, how do you not? Seriously. I mean, oofda, that was awful. I don't even want to think about it, and yet I did. So, there I go. There we all go. 23-10. Boring. It was ugly crap, but at least the Vikings defense got the job done. And the running game. It was defense and running game. It's kind of like the classic Vikings back in the day. Back when, maybe the quarterbacks weren't all that spectacular. What did Jim McMahon throw, like 9 touchdowns or something? Those aren't numbers that jump out at you. They're just not. Even though he was okay. He was fine, but he was hurt as well. I mean, Jim McMahon, unfortunately, was awfully banged up by that point of his career. It wasn't the Chicago Bears, 85 Jim McMahon. It was the 93 Vikings Jim McMahon. He was a little more banged up than he had been in the past. Yeah, he did throw 9 touchdowns the whole year. 9. And, of course, back then people didn't throw as many touchdowns and only 8 interceptions. After that, he became a full-time backup, as he had been a backup for Randall Cunningham the year before with the Philadelphia Eagles. He had come in to kind of help out and all that. But let's get off of that. He played 12 games that year. Sorry for babbling. But, yeah, that was a different era in Vikings history, where there's a lot more, you're relying on the running game and the defense way more than, say, quarterbacks do in this day and age, at least when it's a high-end starting quarterback, generally speaking. You still rely on your running backs and your defense, of course, but not as much. Like in this one, that was like everything. It was everything. I mean, without the defense and the running game, Vikings would have probably been blown out, even with, like maybe if Goff was able to complete a pass or two extra than compared to what he did, the game might have been quite different. But it wasn't. See? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Okay, sorry. McMahon talked about just how hurt, how banged up he really was, even in his final few years with the Bears. So it is what it is. I mean, he was banged up guy. It was a time when guys hit quarterbacks with a lot less regard than they do today, because there was a lot less likely chance there was going to be a 15-yard penalty assessed at that stage. Now it's like it goes from underprotected to overprotected at the end of the day, and now I'm going babbling on and on and on. So, it wasn't a very great game. It is what it is. Brosmer, at best, is a third stringer in this day and age. He's a third stringer right now. Maybe in a year or in a couple years, he could become more of a backup. I mean, Brad Johnson was at the Vikings organization as a fourth stringer for an extended period, third and fourth stringer basically, and then 94 came around. It's like he's number two. Wow, he's number two. And then there was all these rumblings like Moon throws too many interceptions. He's just a mess. He's always gambling and and all that. Well, let's see what Brad Johnson could do. Give him a chance. And then that day came when Warren Moon came up with an ankle injury in '96, and Brad Johnson became a starting quarterback in the NFL. So you never know. You never know. I don't think Brosmer has the skill set of a Brad Johnson, but maybe he does. So far, I would say not yet. Not yet. It's simply not there. And he's significantly older than J.J. McCarthy as well, so it is what it is. Now, Brad Johnson didn't become a starter until he was like 27, so it is what it is. Guys take time to develop sometimes. If he's like a developmental backup / hopefully he can start type of thingamabob, Brosmer would turn 25 on March 28th, so that'd be like 2 more years to become Brad Johnson, basically, in 96. I remember being kind of bummed, like, man, he's already 28. He looks good out there, like 97 into 98. Man, he looks like a good quarterback. And he's quarterback of the future, but he's 28 already. Shoot. So it's kind of like that. It's like he's not going to be a starter forever. He's not going to be he's not going to be the quarterback for 10 more years necessarily, unless he's a Hall of Famer. But again, I don't see Brosmer as a starting quarterback for the Vikings for an extended period. If he's your starting quarterback, you're probably in trouble. And we were in trouble, generally speaking, here. But we still won, which is crazy because Detroit is a failure. Detroit is a failure. They blew it. They are the kittens again. Next year, though, I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit got back going. Again, if they fire Dan Campbell, I think that's a terrible mistake. Detroit, don't do it. Don't do it, Detroit. Dan Campbell brought more to the Detroit Lions organization than anybody has in 30 years. Don't fire Dan Campbell. That'd be a terrible mistake. 30-plus years, right? 91, they went to the conference final. 2023 season / 24, they finally got back. Don't fire Dan Campbell. Even though last year was a massive disappointment in the postseason. But, yeah, firing Dan Campbell I think would be a terrible mistake, and I hope they don't do anything rash in Detroit. If they're smart, they won't. We'll see what happens. But just thought I'd get that out there. My endorsement for Dan Campbell retaining his position is 1,000% right now. Leave him alone. Seriously. He's not perfect, but nobody is. Nobody's perfect. People were questioning George Seifert, in his days with the Niners. People were making fun of Bill Walsh, I'm not comparing Dan Campbell to those guys necessarily, but again, every coach gets complained about. So that's where my conversation is. So kind of like my little salute and respect to Dan Campbell, regardless if it's the Lions, a division rival, a hated rival, and da-da-da, and all the grief they gave us the last couple of years. But Campbell, to me, has been respectable to us all over the course of time. I don't see him as somebody who's crapping all over us. Like LaFleur is a little bit more obnoxious, I think, over there in Green Bay, running out onto the field and going ape bleep every time he doesn't get his way. That's annoying. I don't really see that out of Campbell as much. With that said, the Fran Tarkington Award winner for this episode, I think we're going to go with, I want to go with Cashman again, and I almost should because of the 17 tackles. But I'm going to go with Andrew Van Ginkel. I thought he had a wonderful performance. Loved what Van Ginkel was able to do out there. Cashman gets a strong honorable mention. The Christian Ponder Memorial is Max Brosmer. Haha. No, I don't really want to crap on him that much. It is what it is. He's a third stringer. Whatever. I really don't know, honestly. I think you could... I don't really want to crap on Jones. He was fine. I mean, he's below average compared to what he was the previous week. Previous couple weeks, I should say. Christian Ponder Memorial. I don't know. I mean, I crapped on Naylor last week already. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. I don't know. It's kind of a tough one. Just kind of general offense, like injuries and offense and all that. Just general mediocre to below average. Like, you can't do better than 3 net passing yards. So it's kind of like an indirect shot at Brosmer, I guess. A little bit of shade throwing his direction, but not overall. So we'll kind of go that way. Kind of a generalized Christian Ponder Memorial on this one. With that, we'll take a quick break, look around the league, and preview the season finale with the Green Bay Slackers. Can the Minnesota Vikings play? Spoiler again. And we are back here on Purple Mafia, segment number 2. Time to look around the league. Finally getting to this segment. Yeah, I know. I hope I'm not annoying people by releasing the show on Sunday night instead of Thursday night, or Friday morning. So my apologies if that's kind of annoying to people. I did record segment 1 on Friday morning. It's just, like Christmas, kind of a long day. I mean, you're doing other things. It is what it is. But then, again, I didn't release it Friday morning. I wanted to wait until kind of look around the league a bit. And playoff pictures getting a little bit clearer, not completely. San Francisco and Chicago flashing on the screen, kind of like a 1980s NFC Championship or divisional round type of game. I mean, absolutely classic. Heck, even in '94, the Bears, after crushing the Vikings in the Dome, ended up getting absolutely destroyed by the future world champion 49ers. Unfortunately for the Niners, they haven't won a Super Bowl since. Tonight, they are wearing the uniforms that they wore during that 94 season when they won the Super Bowl. It was like a retro look. I'm not sure how far back those go. I've gotten confused over the years. I don't know if it's the 50s or 60s, but it's definitely a retro 49. It's definitely a retro look. And of course, the Niners went with the darker red. I liked it at first, and I didn't like it at all. It was like around 97 until like 2010-ish, 2009-ish, around there. Then they finally went back to the classic look and stuck with it, like the 80s, 90s look, and stuck with it, 80s and early 90s anyway. Thankfully, they did go back to those because that was the Joe Montana era look, and why wouldn't you want that? I mean, it's arguably the classiest, most respected team in NFL history, and I'll go as far as to say it was. Which it was the Vikings, but there's just that day has never come. Been scoping around looking to see if there were any call-ins. Don't see any yet that I know of, but we'll see. I hope I didn't miss anybody. Otherwise, yes, the Vikings beat the Lions 23-10. Vikings are actually in third place. The Lions are in fourth because of the divisional record, conference record, and the overall head-to-head battle. Niners just scored a touchdown with Brock Purdy late in the first quarter to make it 14-7. Rams will be visiting Atlanta for their Week 17 matchup. Of course, Week 18 is next week. That's when the playoff picture will be absolutely clear. And, of course, I will wait until the picture is completely clear to record segment number 2. Regardless if the Vikings finish with a winning record or a losing record, it'll be one or the other unless there's a tie next week, which the Packers have already done. Falcons hosting the Rams on ESPN on Monday Night Football. The other Christmas game, Washington, this was classic back in the day. The Commanders / Washington Redskins hosting the Cowboys, or the Cowboys hosting them. I mean, sometimes this will be like a Thanksgiving battle. Usually in Dallas, though. If it was a Thanksgiving, it'd be in Dallas. But obviously a great division rivalry forever. Kind of like how the Redskins, basically, as they were still called, of course, basically handed the baton to the Cowboys to be the division champion for forever, basically, from like in the early '90s. The Commanders / Redskins were the basically every year winning the division. Unfortunately, beat the Vikings in the '87 Super Bowl. I do believe that was there's talked about on Barrero today. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys get the victory, 30-23. The Commanders drop all the way down to 4-12. The Cowboys are eliminated, 7-8-1. The Vikings were a part of them being eliminated. Prescott threw for 307 yards, did not have an interception or a fumble loss. Good for him. 2 touchdowns thrown, so kind of winning with the pressure off, kind of like the Vikings. Surprise, surprise. A sack and a half for Clowney. Mr. Jadeveon Clowney on the Dallas Cowboys. Diggs, of course, Trey Diggs, whatever, good for him, had a tackle along the way. Not a very exciting matchup, and 2 teams that aren't going anywhere. Johnson at quarterback. So it's like, okay, who's that again? I don't know. It's just Johnson at quarterback. It's not Brad. There's no B there. It's not Brad Johnson. I can't even imagine how Deebo Samuel feels after some of those heartbreaking losses with the Niners. Goes to Washington after winning, after they got to the NFC title game last year, and they're 4-12. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's depressing. I feel bad for the Commanders a bit, even though years ago I hated the Redskins and and whoever, but basically the Redskins. I hated that team, but for so many reasons, causing the Vikings all kinds of pain over the years. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that one. Another Christmas matchup. Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Denver Broncos, a classic battle years ago with Elvis Gerbach or Joe Montana or whoever going up against John Elway in the postseason or the regular season, as this has been a divisional rivalry forever. An Amazon game. The Broncos get to 13-3, barely beating a team with third-string quarterback in there. Bo Nix was mediocre at best, throwing an interception, but he did run one in and pass for one. 182 yards. The Broncos are 13-3. Holy crap. So it's kind of like the Peyton Manning era all over again, or even that really weird Jay Cutler year where they had that great record but didn't do a whole lot afterward. Yeah, weren't they 13-3 with Jay Cutler one year? Not Jay Cutler. What was that guy's name again? The former Arizona quarterback, not Jay Cutler. Why am I forgetting that guy's name? I keep forgetting his stupid name. Gosh darn it! It'll come back to me in a little bit. He used to play for Arizona, of course. Vikings beat them in the first round. He went to Denver, and they just had a crazy season, but they lost early in the playoffs. Who cares? If he comes back in my head, great. But the Broncos win, basically. Will Lutz, a couple of field goals, good for him. A couple of chip shot field goals, basically. As the Kansas City defense actually being relatively stubborn in this one. Oladokun threw a touchdown pass, did not have an interception. This is the Kansas City quarterback, not named Patrick Mahomes or Gardner Minshew, who both tore their ACL. Holy cow. 22 pass attempts for 66 yards. Spectacular. Well, whatever. The Chiefs are 6-10 because they were actually in the playoff hunt for a while, despite not playing all so great. Travis Kelce, maybe his last game in Arrowhead. We'll see. For a minute there, he actually looked kind of humble, and that was kind of nice to see. Travis Kelce actually looked humble for the first time in about 5 or 6 years, and I'm dead serious. Good for him. About 2019 was the last time he seemed like a fairly humble guy. And I kind of liked him then. And I don't know, I kind of liked him a teeny tiny bit for a couple seconds here when they talked about, is it his last game in Arrowhead, or is he going to come back next year? Who knows? But, well, God bless him, I guess. Bless his heart, as they say. Obviously not been a fan of his for a long time, but Bears have just tied things up. Bless their hearts. The Houston Texans hosted the Los Angeles Chargers, who'd been red hot. Texans have been even hotter. It's a hot one in Texas. No, this was in SoFi Stadium. The Chargers hosted the Texans, and the Texans win. It's Saturday afternoon game, Saturday Yeah, afternoon. The Texans win. Can you believe it? 20-16. I bet everybody would have thought, oh, the Chargers are going to win this one, and the Texans will finally lose a game, and they'll be in the hunt. They're probably going to make the playoffs, but we'll see. No, Texans make the playoffs outright. Again, horrible start to the season. Now they're 11-5. Kind of like the Chargers way back in 1992. They opened up the season 0-4. Now, the Texans weren't that bad, but were they like 2-4, 1-4? Weren't they 1-4? Like awful, right? Awful start to the season. Like, who'd have saw them making the playoffs? And an 0-4 Chargers team back in 92. I mean, who can forget that? They finished 11-5, got the first round bye, and lost right away. Ouch. I don't want to even remember that. That was a bummer. I believe they lost to the Bills. I remember being pissed off. No, they lost to either the Bills or the Dolphins. Couldn't have been the Dolphins because the Dolphins had the other bye that year. They were actually the number 1 seed. And, the Dolphins did not go to the Super Bowl, neither did the Niners. And everybody, I bet, on the planet was hoping for Montana versus, Steve Young, actually, versus Dan Marino, and we got the Cowboys and Bills. Yeah, I didn't like that either. Didn't like it at all. And we got it the next year. Yeah, wonderful. Anyway, C.J. Stroud, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Kind of a mess. Obviously, the Chargers' defense is fantastic, but the Texans' defense is pretty good, too. Frustrating Justin Herbert, interception. Fumbled the ball twice. Did not lose it either time, miraculously, but still was rattled a bit out there. Did not have his best game at all. 84.9 in Herbert's case. 236 yards in the air. But, just not a great day for the Los Angeles Chargers. I can imagine the frustration. They looked a lot more like the San Diego Superchargers with those outfits going back to, the good old 90s and such. Heck, didn't they wear those pretty much in the LaDainian Tomlinson era also? They didn't go to the sky blue look until a bit later. Well into Phillip Rivers' career, honestly. Yeah, Phillip Rivers. Remember him? 44 years of age. We'll be talking about him again in a little bit. Can't believe it. Yeah, crazy that he came back. Baltimore, Green Bay. We'll get back to that one later. Yep, that'll be the last game we're going to talk about. So thankfully I won't make that dumb mistake. Joe Burrow. Well, again, like I was saying, I lost the semifinals, unfortunately, which was really disappointing. Things just went south pretty harshly, and I lost the semifinal to the, whoever it is. They were the number 1 seed in the fantasy football. I was the 4th seed. Lost the semifinal, but probably going to win the bronze in a landslide, which is wonderful. So I'm actually going to place for the first time in forever. Second year out of retirement in fantasy football. Joe Burrow, epic today against the Arizona Cardinals. I'm still forgetting that guy's name, that former Arizona quarterback. I could just look it up in 10 seconds here it'll take longer because I haven't signed in properly here. What was his name? I'm going to be slapping myself in the head. 1998 Arizona Cardinals quarterback. Jake Plummer. Yes, that's who it was. Jake the Snake Plummer. He was the quarterback of the Denver Broncos with a 13-3 team that lost right away years ago. But, yeah, they looked really good. And then, yeah, I keep calling him, like, I don't know, was it like Jake Drunkenmiller or something? No, it's Jake Plummer. He's the plumber. Yeah, he's one of those guys that pants are falling down as he's bending down working on the... No, not really. But the Bengals, 37-14. All this great energy with the pressure off. Now they're kicking everyone's butt. Jacoby Brissett, another fun, he's a good quarterback, dang it. I keep talking about Jacoby Brissett. It's too bad he's so dang old. Because I wouldn't mind bringing in Jacoby Brissett for a little bit of, if it comes to bridge quarterback action here in Minnesota. How old is he? Yeah, 92, huh? 1992. So December 11th, he would have turned 33. He's the same age as Teddy Bridgewater. Well, I would bring in Jacoby Brissett if the Vikings can, if he's interested. I would bring him in to be either a bridge quarterback or be that nice, good backup for J.J. McCarthy. As long as you have, your sights set on J.J. McCarthy being the future quarterback, whatever, quarterback of the future, or at least for 26, and then, if it's deemed that he's a bust, and I don't think he is, by the way. I would say he's not. I should put a poll out at some point. Is J.J. McCarthy going to be a bust will he be deemed a bust in 2026? Yes or no? Something along those lines. But Jacoby Brissett would be very high on my short list of guys of veteran quarterbacks that I would bring in to, at least be a legitimate backup quarterback. a legitimate backup quarterback, and at least that veteran, that veteran guy who can play some games. I mean, Arizona, it's not just because of Jacoby Brissett that they're 4-12. So I'm not blaming Jacoby Brissett. I don't think anybody should. He's okay. He's far from perfect. He's a backup, just like Carson Wentz. But I would rather have Jacoby Brissett versus Carson Wentz to be the Vikings' second quarterback. And if you have your eyes set on something higher and want J.J. McCarthy to be the backup and sit down for a little bit, well, I guess that's up to you. But we'll see what happens. But I think Brissett would be high on my list. Couple of touchdowns thrown, 212 yards is okay. 91.3 quarterback rating. It's all right. Burrow, fantastic for the most part. 24 of 31. I'd say that's pretty fantastic. Quarterback rating of 129.1. 2 touchdowns thrown. Brown on the ground. Both of these guys are on the fantasy team, so here comes the bronze trophy for me. 2 touchdowns ran in for Brown, 101 yards. Epic stuff. Yeah, and Chase also had 2 receiving touchdowns. Oh, that's Chase. Jamar Chase. I'm getting Chase Brown and Jamar Chase mixed up. That's been going on the whole damn season for me, actually. But Burrow throwing two touchdown passes and an epic performance. Joe Flacco, maybe one of his last games of his career. One of his, maybe his second last game, because I'm guessing he'll throw a couple passes next week, one way or another. 3 completions out of 5, 24 yards. Joe Flacco. Yep. I even kind of wanted to bring him here, but we'll see. Obviously, that didn't happen. And, well, I would take Jacoby Brissett. He's about 8 years younger. So, resist, Joey. Resist the temptation to click on the Green Bay game. That'd be a mistake. Cleveland Browns host the Pittsburgh Steelers. Chance to win the division, clinch that playoff spot, and then the whole AFC playoffs should be set because, Houston clinched. It would just be about, seeding, like where's everybody actually going to line up. And the Steelers lost. You've got to be kidding me. They lost to the Browns, 13-6. And there was some bleep talking in Aaron Rodgers' direction. I don't know. Just shut up. I wouldn't bleep talk anybody if I was in, what's the point? Just play, 39 attempts, 21 completions, quarterback rating of 64.9, kind of like one of McCarthy's worst games of the year. No touchdowns or interceptions, and still the quarterback rating of 64.9, even without an interception. That's how lousy it was for A-Raj in this particular game. What a way to go. Ouch. But the Steelers lose. They're 9-7, and they have not clinched the division. I guess Baltimore's still alive by the skin of their teeth. I don't know if Baltimore and Pittsburgh's playing next week or what the deal is. The Browns win their 4th game of the year. Epic stuff. Yay, go Browns, I guess. Shadur Sanders with 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, yet still had a higher quarterback rating than Aaron Rodgers because 17 and 23 ain't bad. It's just, unfortunately, 2 of them were interceptions. Ouch. Well, whatever. Ugly frickin' game. 13-6. And the Steelers lose on the road. It wasn't a home game, at least. But, man, that's a tough one. That's a rough day if you're a Steelers fan, which, thankfully, I'm not, one way or another. Of course, we'd have 5. We'd have 5 Super Bowl championships, but, or is it 6? It is 6. Bastards. And the Patriots also have that many. That's better. Saints win their 6th game of the year somehow, so not the worst team in football, just like E.T. isn't the worst video game ever. One of the ugliest, but not the worst. The worst video game, E.T. for Atari. That's kind of how people came in the season with the Saints. It's probably the Titans. Or no, it's actually the Raiders. They're even worse. They suck. 3-13 Tennessee Titans, awful. They do have their quarterback. Now we'll see what else they can build around him. The Saints kind of mediocrely bad at 6-10, winning in Tennessee 34-26. Southern versus Southern. Show is showing him what he can do with 333 yards in the air. 22 of 27. Quarterback rating of 142.7. Looking like Show Montana is more like it. 2 touchdown passes thrown. Incredible stuff, actually. Pretty good for him. It's time with 14 carries, 94 yards. Almost 7 yards a carry and got in the end zone. That'd be the what do they call them? The New Orleans Saints running back. Olave. Another great game for him. 119 yards and a touchdown. They are not the worst team in football. Kind of ugly, one of the weaker ones, but they're not the worst team in football. Tennessee's clearly worse. I mean, The Saints just keep winning games, and it's weird. They're kind of like us. Oh, the pressure's off. Let's just win some games. Cam Ward with 2 touchdown passes. Good for him, but only about 50% completion. That's why his quarterback rating is 88.6, despite, I think it'd be a little higher. Pollard, again, great. He's had a nice renaissance in Tennessee, generally speaking, but an awful team this year. So let's just keep going. Pollard with 85 yards on, was it only 18 carries? So pretty nice game for him. But, it was actually a halfway decent football game. It's just they're not good teams, that's all. They just played fairly well against each other, I guess, because they kind of stink. Jacksonville winning again. Holy cow. And I think a lot of us figured they would. 12-4. Jacksonville Jaguars, 12-4. How about that? They have a real legitimate shot of winning 13 games this year. Great season. Maybe they'll be kind of like, like it's between them and the Bears to being like the 22 Vikings. We'll see how that all turns out. Niners are driving right now. They're first and goal at the 5, so they have a real shot at taking the lead here. McCaffrey to the right, and that's it. Yep, no tackle there. Touchdown, San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey doing the little crucifix. Good for him. And the Niners scored their 3rd touchdown of the first half, and pretty early in the second quarter there. Anyhow, Trevor Lawrence did not have that great of a game. The Colts defense actually showed up to play in this one pretty nicely. Trevor Lawrence probably his worst game in forever. 37 attempts, 23 completions, 1 interception, 72.2 quarterback rating. Yucky city. Trevor Lawrence did run the ball in twice, so maybe if he was on your fantasy team for your Super Bowl, he still might have saved the day with running the ball in twice. But that interception ain't going to help you. Travis Etienne Jr. isn't going to help you too much. 76 yards is nice numbers and everything, but he didn't get in the end zone once. Washington of Jacksonville with 8 catches and 115 yards. Pretty notable, but again, no touchdown passes thrown in this game. Who's that Colts quarterback? Oh, you know that guy, that 44-year-old player. Steve DeBerg? No, Phillip Rivers. I still remember Steve DeBerg coming in years ago with the Falcons. That was crazy. Damn, that was weird. 17 of 30 for Phillip Rivers, a touchdown and interception. Yep, got to be future Hall of Famer, doesn't he? I mean, the total numbers tell you he's probably Hall of Fame, right? He'd have to be, right? So I don't know, but good for Phillip Rivers, yay. But the Colts dropped to 8-8, losing like 15 games in a row. It feels like. It is what it is. Let's just move on. They just lost. That's all you need to know. The Battle of the Sunshine State? Is that what it's called? The Citrus State, the Sunshine State, that would be Florida. Miami Dolphins versus the Bucks. 20-17, the Dolphins win their 7th game of the year and drop the Buccaneers to their 9th loss of the season, which would technically be Miami owns the tiebreaker because they've only played each other twice, but they're in opposite conferences. I don't know how a team can collapse like the Buccaneers. This is kind of like when Chucky got fired all those years ago. What were they, like 8-2, and they finished like 8-8? It was like, what happened? Holy crap. And that's kind of about what happened here. I mean, the Bucks have just fallen off the face of the earth. And if not for 2 interceptions by Baker Mayfield, he would have had an absolutely epic game. He also fumbled twice and lost 1. So 3 total turnovers for Mayfield. That ended up kind of costing the Bucks. Outside of the turnovers, though, he had great numbers. 33 of 44, 346 total yards in the air. Godwin, with 7 catches and 108 yards, a touchdown. Mike Evans, just 3 catches, 31 yards, but also had a touchdown. McMillan, 114 yards on 7 catches, did not get in the end zone. Dolphins, Ewers, which I didn't even talk about last week, quarterback. He had a halfway decent game last week and a pretty good one this week. 2 touchdowns thrown, did not have an interception, did have a fumble, but didn't lose it. Good for him. Not Arcane, but Akane ran the ball. Ran the ball 18 times for 83 yards. Solid overall performance for the Dolphins. And, Dolphins win their 7th game of the year. We'll see if McDaniel keeps his job at the end of the season. Tua will not. And you know what? Go Dolphins for that. Yeah, and I've talked about that probably like almost every week, at least for a couple of minutes here, with just how unimpressed I was with how Tua handled things there, pretty much throughout his whole time. It's bull crap. Everybody basically accommodated him, and when he had some devastating concussions, and to come out with a crummy attitude like that and throw teammates and coaches under the bus, he can go somewhere. Yeah, he can. Anyhow, I'm sure, and thankfully they told him the same thing. Patriots go to the Jets. Who do you think won the game? Who do you think won the game? I would have to say the New England Patriots, 42-10. 13-3 versus 3-13. New England Patriots still have a shot at the number one seed in the AFC, and frankly, I hope they get it, because seriously, no matter how much you dislike the Patriots with all the Super Bowls and the playoff games and, I don't know, Deflategate and this and that with Tom Brady, how can you not prefer this team over the Broncos? But then again, there are people listening that do like the Broncos. So, yes, I do know Gerald String has liked the Broncos. I don't know if he's less interested in them with Sean Payton as the coach. But holy cow, Drake May, again, 19 of 21. The highest quarterback rating of the season here with 157. But also, not only that, but the highest completion percentage all season, about 71% on the year. This was like 90. 19 of 21, 256 yards, 5 touchdowns thrown, 5 touchdowns thrown, no interceptions, no fumbles lost. Save this for the playoffs, though, Drake. Seriously, I'm glad they won, but again, save this for the playoffs. Wouldn't mind seeing this Patriots team go on a massive playoff run, and I wouldn't be very surprised if they did. Quite frankly, I think they could go into Denver and win. Quite frankly, I hope they do, because I'm not cheering for Sean Payton. Not in this lifetime. I'm not cheering for Sean Payton. Sorry. Not happening. Seattle Seahawks kind of screwing up the Carolina Panthers, basically like basically like sleepwalking to a division title, because Tampa has fallen off the face of the planet, just like Baltimore's fallen off the face of the planet. Pittsburgh couldn't win their game, and Carolina was hosting a pretty good Seahawks team that's 13-3. Watch them lose right away in the playoffs, because I think they will. My phone is going ape, and I don't know why. I'm just hearing buzz after buzz after buzz. Holy cow, like what is going on? Okay, that's good. One good thing. And there you go. Okay, it's kind of distracting. Apologize here. But, yeah, I'm just so popular, right? No, that's not what it is. Be nice to be popular once in a blue moon. But yes, Carolina could not beat the Seahawks 27-10. Seahawks are 13-3. Again, I have about as much faith in this Seahawks team and Sam Darnold at quarterback of winning the Super Bowl or getting even out of the first or second round as I do in I don't know. I just don't think they're going to do it. That's all. As they have in the Timberwolves right now making a playoff run this year, because they couldn't even beat the Nets. That was bull crap. We'll talk about that next week. I already ranted about the Denver game, when they blew a 9-point lead in overtime with 3 minutes left. Now, blowing a 9-point lead with 3 minutes left is possible, but still, going into overtime with that kind of momentum, usually the game's over. But not the Timberwolves. No. Can't do that. Like, just pathetic. Most embarrassing thing I've ever seen in my life. Cam Akers on Seattle, because we just couldn't keep him. It's against the rules. He returned a couple of kicks for the Seattle Seahawks. Man, I want Cam Akers on the Vikings. I like Cam Akers. Why do we always throw him away? I like Cam Akers, dang it. But at least he's on an NFL team and making an NFL sorry, because he's got to be the most underrated player in the league. As weird as that might sound. He's got to be, well, he's one of them. There's probably other players that are more underrated that are, yeah. But he's got to be way up there. Like, he's at least a really good number 3 running back, if not a halfway decent number 2. And yet everybody just like treats him like he's like a fourth, or like he's just lucky to exist. Basically, it's kind of sad. It's sad. I don't like the way people throw him to the side. Anyhow, Darnold was not the reason the Seahawks won this game at all. 18 of 27, a touchdown and interception, kind of like last week. In fact, last week he was worse. It looked like a complete junk. Charbonnet was fantastic again. Another couple of touchdowns for Seattle. He'd be probably one of the reasons Seattle goes to the Super Bowl, much more than Darnold. That's why we didn't keep Darnold. I don't think we were idiots to move on from Darnold, as much as some of the national conglomerates will tell you. Bryce Young had a Bryce Young was like reverted back to like crappy rookie season numbers, or like earlier, again, like I say, McCarthy's awful games this year. 24 of 14, or 14 of 24 would make more sense. 54 yards, an interception. More like Max Brosmer against Seattle here. 45.8. Now, like I was saying, Charbonnet would be a reason why Seattle get to the Super Bowl. Their defense is even more so. A great defensive coach in Seattle. Again, that's like Max Brosmer, except he only threw one interception. Brosmer threw 4. But I mean, the yardage, the total numbers, just like frightening numbers. And yeah, that beats why Seattle go to the Super Bowl. Certainly not because of Darnold. Like Darnold might end up being the, Trent Dilfer for the Baltimore Ravens. Like for the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. That's kind of about a role he might end up playing, believe it or not. Which is, some people would think that's the most insulting, stupid thing ever. He's, what are you talking about? He could throw 35 to 40 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. That's better than Dilfer. Well, yeah. In the playoffs, he's pretty Dilfer-like. Anyhow, the battle of the bad bowl, the junk bowl, the toilet bowl, the whatever bowl, the cesspool bowl. The Giants win their 3rd game of the season in blowout fashion because the Raiders are that much worse. 34-10 over the Las Vegas Raiders in Allegiant Stadium. That would be Las Vegas. 2-14. Pete Carroll, well, it was nice while it lasted, huh? I can't imagine he's coming back. I don't know what for, but who knows? It just, wow. Why are the Raiders so pathetic? Jackson Dart, 22 of 30, and nothing else. 207 yards at least. So at least he's something, kind of, sort of. He moved the ball down the field, especially to Mr. Robinson there. 11 catches, 113 yards. Tracy Jr. ran the ball 14 times, 62 yards, but Dart got in the end zone twice. Good for him. And Singletary also in the end zone once for the Giants. They pretty much dominated on the ground for the most part, but also moved the ball a bit in between the red zones. They moved the ball nicely, but generally speaking, the Giants destroyed the Raiders 34-10. Wow, looking like the whatever they are. I forget what they used to be called back in the day when they were the best team in the world, like 86, 91, around there. But we'll move on from that. 86 and 90, not 91. Excuse me. A lot of people thought this could have been the Super Bowl last year. Eagles 13-12. The Eagles put the clamps down on the Buffalo Bills and dropped them to 11-5, and the New England Patriots are your division champions because of it. Absolutely. And the Philadelphia Eagles, did they finally win the division? It took like the whole damn season to get there. I think, yeah. This is the last game other than the Packer one. Damn it, I'm bumping stuff here. I can't believe I just did that. Oh boy, now I'm getting the white screen. But 13-12, ugly stuff. Philadelphia's defense looking a lot like they did. I'm getting word salad like. Philadelphia's defense looking a lot like they did against the Kansas City Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl. Saquon Barkley, mediocre, 19 and 68 for carries and yards, about 3.5 yards a carry, did not get in the end zone. Jalen Hurts, mediocre, 13 of 27, 110 yards, a touchdown, and a 71.5 quarterback rating, despite no turnovers of any kind by Mr. What's-his-face. That would be Jalen Hurts. Marcus Epps, the guy that we just kind of threw away because we're just too good for him, I guess. Not bad at all. What did he have, like 9 tackles in today's game? Of course, he hadn't been used all season, which is weird, but kind of a replacement. 9 total tackles, 8 solo. Nice performance by him. Hunt with 2 sacks for the Eagles. But Marcus Epps, the guy the Vikings just kind of threw away, and he wound up with the Eagles years ago. And he's been there ever since. A nice kind of a, second string safety, basically, for the Eagles. And did get a ring along the way. At least I believe he did. Correct, right? So good for Marcus Epps, one way or another. I was a fan. I was like, he's kind of got this Harrison Smith kind of a style of play, and we got rid of him. So I guess. Oh, no, he was not on the Eagles. He was on the Eagles, and then he wasn't the last 2 years. Oh, that sucks. Well, maybe he can still get a ring. Oh, guess what team he was on? Just take one wild guess. The Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah, Las Vegas Raiders. You're not going to be winning any Super Bowls there, are you? Oh, that sucks. He was on the 22 Eagles that lost to the frickin' Chiefs. Yeah, they lost. Boo. Boo. That's all you got to say about that. 23 team beat the 23 Niners, lost to the Chiefs. And the 24 Eagles kicked the Chiefs into Kingdom Come, thank God. All right, let's move on. The Eagles win in a kind of a yucky game, and the weather sucked too. Remember that nasty, foggy, wet crap that we had in the Twin Cities and in Iowa and such? It was in Buffalo, New York today, and I don't think anybody enjoys that kind of weather unless they're crazy. I just don't understand why anybody likes that. Some people do, though, because they're crazy. Josh Allen, 23 of 35. He completed some passes. They couldn't get a whole lot going, though Josh Allen did get in the end zone twice on his own accord, and he fumbled the ball once. Fumbled twice, but lost the fumble once, and that did not help the Buffalo Bills' cause to win this football game. But it is what it is. The Eagles built an early lead, hung on to it, and that was it, basically, eventually. As things got closer and closer. This Bears and Niners game is kind of a barn burner, 21-21. Interesting stuff. Well, a game that wasn't too much of a barn burner and kept the Baltimore Ravens alive. Baltimore Ravens visiting Green Bay, Wisconsin. No Jordan Love. And then ultimately, no Tavares Jackson. And then Malik Willis also left the game, 18 of 21. He has been wonderful when in action for the Green Bay Packers. He's been absolutely amazing. I mean, you can't deny that. 18 of 21, 288 yards, a touchdown. Great numbers, 134.6. But then he got hurt again, or like he just re-aggravated or whatever. And then somebody named Toon wasn't able to tune in too much with one completion for 8 yards on 4 attempts and a quarterback rating of 0 because he also threw an interception. Malik Willis ran 9 times for 60 yards and got in the end zone twice. He has been awesome as a Packer quarterback. But other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Baltimore Ravens 41-24. Baltimore Ravens dominate the Packers. Tyler Huntley, remember him? Didn't he play for the Packers for a minute? Or am I getting him mixed up with someone else? I think he did. I know he's been around. Miami for a minute. Otherwise it was Baltimore. I guess he's always been Tavares'. I just called him Tavares. Lamar Jackson's backup most of the way, except for Miami last year in a couple games. Okay, yep, I remember that. I think did he play against us in a game? I can't remember now. Oh well. Huntley, good for him. Baltimore blew out the Packers in Green Bay, and they were pretty sick. And it wasn't because of Tyler Huntley, even though he was very efficient. 16 of 20, that's great. A touchdown pass, 107 yards. Great numbers, for very limited style. Because this guy named Derrick Henry, talk about Tecmo Bowl. This is more like Bo Jackson Tecmo Bowl, where you just can't tackle him. It was kind of like that, where he could run across the field like 2 or 3 times in a row. That's about what it felt like. I mean, the guy has been unbelievable with the Baltimore Ravens, former Tennessee Titan, of course. 36 carries. 36 carries. And even Tyler Huntley with 8 for 60. That's pretty good. They couldn't stop the run in Green Bay if their life depended on it because, certain valuable players are hurt. 36 carries, 216 yards, 6 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns. 4. Derrick Henry. Anybody with Derrick Henry on their lineup in their Super Bowl, get your rings ready to go. Get the banner printed up and sewed up or whatever the word is, and get ready to hang that thing up in the rafters because you are going to win the championship most likely, unless nobody else did anything. Maybe your quarterback was Jordan Love. Oops. Okay, just kidding. 4 touchdowns, and man, that is sick. Packers just absolutely ran into the ground. Congratulations, Baltimore, staying alive by the skin of their teeth in that one. Man, Derrick Henry, holy mother of Moses. But Baltimore is still alive, I believe. Oh no. Well, they're still alive. Baltimore is still alive, and let's look and see what's going on, really quick. So as we look at the playoff picture, it's not official. Obviously, nothing's official. Things could change very dramatically in the next few games, and it is Baltimore. So it is the division championship game. That is pretty cool at noon on Sunday the 4th here. Is every game at noon next week? Because it looked like it was. That doesn't seem right to me. It doesn't usually work that way, does it? I think it's extremely convenient as a podcaster. I really like that. It actually makes me quite happy. That just doesn't seem realistic to me, though. Before I go to the Packer game. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about the Packers here in a minute. Who's even going to be the quarterback? I don't even know. Packers are in the playoffs, I do believe. Come on, just let me look at the damn Week 18, please. Just let me look at Week 18. They can't all be at noon, can they? Noon. They're all at noon. This can't be right. This has got to be an error, right? Because I was looking at this earlier. Every game is a nooner. All I have to say is thank you, NFL. I actually like it. There's no Sunday night game this year? That can't be right. Or maybe I think I get it. I get it. It's going to be flexes. That's why teams are going to flex. Like the more important stuff will be pushed forward. Like a crappy game like Vikings Packers, they're probably not going to put that at the top. Detroit Chicago, it's Saints and Falcons. That's going to stay at noon. Stuff like that. But that must be what it is. It's got to be flex related, so they're leaving it open. But that'd be annoying as a fan, though. Like, I'm ready to go at noon. No, it's not going to be till tonight. Like, oh, come on, guys. Or maybe you love it. I don't know. I don't know. Well, you'd be in the national spotlight. That's probably what that is. It's just preparing it for flexing. So I'm an idiot. There's no way they're going to make them all noon games, are they? Surely it's just waiting for flexing. They're just flexing their muscles, pardon me. Let's talk about the stupid Packers because, I don't know, watch the Vikings win this one. Is McCarthy going to play? I say no, unlikely, especially if there's a hairline fracture is a fracture. And what's the point of playing a guy with a hairline fracture in his throwing hand? Unless you just want to sabotage the guy's career one way or another. Like, oh man, what happened to McCarthy today? He played with a broken hand. That's what happened. Yeah, common sense, folks. Will Willis be healthy? Will Love be healthy? That's the whole thing. Like, are the Packers really playing for anything? That's the other question. They're not playing for a division. They are in the playoffs, but what seed could they potentially have as we go forward? Let's hit the button. Okay, yeah, that's the AFC. NFC, the Packers are probably going to, I don't think they're escaping the 7th seed. In fact, they're not. So there's a pretty good chance the Vikings win, which is funny. There's a pretty good chance the Vikings win, and they would finish a half game behind the Packers in the standings if they did. Now, of course, conference record, the Packers would have us beat, I believe. Yeah, we would be 7-5-0. They'd be 7-4-1, which is a better record in the conference. Division record, Packers and Vikings would be even, just like the head-and-head. Isn't that just the darndest thing? Like, technically, yes, we've been eliminated, but we're like the best non-playoff team in the NFC right now in terms of like record, overall record, and tiebreakers and stuff. Isn't that just crazy? How does that even happen? But other than playing a cream puff schedule late and McCarthy kind of waking up and there's no pressure and all that, the Vikings are the best non-playoff team in the NFC right now. That's funny. But then you have a team like the Colts on the other side who were so good earlier in the year. They're still a plus 62. Isn't that crazy? The Vikings are a -1. Baltimore still has a chance to make the playoffs, but the other Baltimore team, known as the Colts, Baltimore Colts just rolls right off your tongue better than anything. Indianapolis Ravens, would that work? And the Baltimore Colts, if you did that? Houston Oilers and the, I don't even know what I'm talking about. I was thinking of teams like some teams staying where they're at. Like Tennessee will keep their Titans name. Like maybe Tennessee is an expansion team and they're the Titans. The Oilers, the Houston becomes or like the Texans. No, maybe the Oilers moved to Houston and moved to Tennessee and became the Titans, and then the new Houston team is the Oilers again. That'd be better. And then maybe like Baltimore and Indianapolis switch names, but it's too late for that. They have 2 championships, and even Indianapolis has a championship as the Colts, even though they won as Baltimore many moons ago with Johnny Unitas. Many years ago. That's weird, though. The Vikings are the best non-playoff team in the NFC in terms of, again, wins, losses, and combined with tiebreakers. That is the weirdest, most freaking strange thing I've ever seen. There is one team left that could make the playoffs. That is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are, well, who are they playing? They must be playing Carolina, right? Because why else would they? Well, I suppose anything could happen. It's pretty epic. Oh, yeah, it is. So that's the division championship game right there as well. Carolina and Tampa, division championship game. So both Pittsburgh, it'll be Pittsburgh versus Baltimore, and then Carolina, Tampa playing for division championships. So that goes down to that final game. Kind of cool. Kind of cool when you think about that. So that's how things are shaping up in the playoffs. New England, okay, let's hit that button again. Denver is still technically ahead of New England, but it's, yeah. Is it just because they're home away? So New England's undefeated on the road, so maybe they'll like that in the playoffs. Who knows? Conference record is even. I don't even know how that's a tiebreaker and how Denver is considered ahead. They shouldn't be, should they? Even net points, New England's number one in the NFL, 142. So we'll see how that all turns out. Otherwise, Denver, New England jockeying for number one. Jacksonville is very safe at number 3, I do believe. Yes, they are. Yep, they're safe at number 3 because all the wildcard teams have 11 wins. Those guys have all made it, but then there's a division champion who's going to win either a 10th game or a 9th game, be it Baltimore and Pittsburgh. So extremely interesting there. And the way the odds are setting up, if Baltimore wins that game, yeah, they're considered much more likely to go all the way than the Steelers. I kind of agree with that. Steelers aren't going anywhere. Just waste of time. And, yeah. Even Denver and New England are the most likely two teams to win the Super Bowl, looks like, coming out of the AFC. The Rams are the overall top of the top. And for some reason, Seattle's number 2. They're not winning the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They're not. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. Seattle will never win the Super Bowl again. But then again, I suppose their defense would be the one way they could. Man, that's weird to think. The Rams might end up being a wild card team. But it's kind of like, sucks to be you. How do you think we felt last year? And then they crapped all over us. Remember that? Last year we ended up having to be the 5th seed. That was frustrating. Because San Francisco's probably going to win tonight, too. So, well, maybe. Looks like Chicago and, Chicago, well, they have to win tonight to beat. If they lose tonight, they'll be tied to the Philadelphia. Man, isn't that weird? So, fascinating stuff. You can tell I kind of don't really care about the Packers-Viking game next week. I got a feeling the Vikings are going to win that game, which is funny, and they're going to be 9-8. And I don't even know who's going to be quarterback for the Packers, and they are stuck at the 7th seed. So, I don't think they care either. They'd rather get out of there without, like, another injury. So I think the Vikings win again by a strange score, like 20-16, one of those kind of games. It'll be ugly. It'll be icky. It'll be kind of similar to the last couple of games here. Like, yeah, it'll be similar to the Giants game, like 17 to, I don't know. We'll just say 21-17. The Vikings beat the Packers, and that's all I'm going to say. It's going to be, obviously, Brosmer at quarterback, and you still got the running game and the defense for the Vikings, and obviously that little pride if we're going to have a winning record. Yay, but we'll be picking like 17th instead of like 11th or 10th or something. And the, or 8th even, as low as that, or high as that, excuse me. And then the Packers they're the 7th seed no matter what happens. It'll be like, are they going to wherever? So they're going to wait to possibly go into Chicago, Philadelphia. It'll be one of those two teams, maybe even Seattle if the Rams somehow win their division. So that's still a possibility. With how that's going to all kind of come together. Who do the Rams play next week? The Rams play the Cardinals. Well, that's a win, I would hope. So they'll get their... Oh, yeah, and they play the Falcons. Yeah, so they are going to win 13 games. The Rams will win 13 games for sure. And then Seattle, I forgot who they were playing again. Because they already have 13 wins. So... basically, the Rams will probably win both of those games, and then Seattle has to basically win whatever, whoever they're playing against next week. I forgot who it was. I remember I saw it just recently, and it's not the Panthers. San Francisco. Oh, boy. Ooh. and that's going to be in San Francisco too. So there's a real possibility the Rams go right back up to the number one seed in the NFC. In fact, I will predict that right now. Rams win the NFC number one seed, and I think the Patriots. I wouldn't be surprised if you get Rams Patriots as number one seeds, and that might even be the Super Bowl. But we'll talk about that next week. I'm going on way too long. With that, we'll take a quick break and look at the fan interaction right after this. And we are back here on Purple Mafia, segment number 3. Wrap things up here. Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. And, of course, I don't have the Facebook up because that's how I roll, I guess. Instagram is Purple Mafia Show. Facebook is, well, you look up Purple Mafia Show on Facebook. Hopefully you can find it. Purple Mafia Minnesota Vikings Show. And, of course, Twitter is Purple Mafia Show. It's the easiest show to find there is. YouTube, Purple Mafia Show. I've been lazy or unavailable basically to do videos, either lazy or unavailable. This week you could say it's kind of that Christmas thing. You just, I don't know, kind of got other stuff going on, and the Vikings have become semi-irrelevant, even though, again, we're the best non-playoff team in the NFC, which is the weirdest, strangest thing ever. And it's funny, too, considering how out they were not that long ago. So we'll go to the Facebook first. Mark Carlson was saying, hey, Jay Mason, Chase Carlson. Hopefully he checked out the show and had some comments. Unfortunately, I don't usually hear from Jay Mason too much, and I wish I could. It'd be nice to hear from you, Jay, if you'd be willing to interact with the show. I'm not sure if he's a listener or not. Maybe. Must be if Mark is shouting out to him. Dave Hickey, also from Iowa, as Mark Carlson is, of course, says, Merry Christmas, Joey. Merry Christmas, Joey and family, and I hope you have a wonderful New Year also. It's been a tough year for our team, but we're diehards, so next year we'll see. Yep. And yes, Merry Christmas also to you, Dave Hickey, and again, apologize to all of you guys for releasing the show later. Just kind of like to get caught up with things going around the league, because, it's kind of this is fun part of the year when teams are jockeying for playoff seeding and such. But yes, I hope you had a Merry Christmas. And New Year's around the corner. Again, I'll take Christmas any day over New Year's, but it is what it is, Everything just flies by the way it does. Before you know it, it'll be Valentine's Day. Heck, if you go to the grocery store, what do you think's on the shelves already? Valentine's Day. Are you kidding me? Just like Halloween stuff going up in July. This past year, Pumpkin Love Caribou. That's the pumpkin coffee. On July 21st, excuse me. It was one day, difference. July 21st. They were up. I almost fainted. Like, it's the middle of summer, and we're already talking about autumn? Oh, excuse me. It was a slightly past the middle of summer. But anyhow, Mark Carlson says, I could not watch the whole game, but I did see some, and I did get some updates. Winning is winning, no matter how ugly it is. And I just said the Vikings and Giants. That was a week ago. It actually was the Detroit Lions, of course. But it was like both games were kind of similar, very ugly performances, particularly by the other team. But the Giants actually almost beat the Vikings. It was kind of funny. But anyhow, winning is winning no matter how ugly. And Merry Christmas, Paladino Joey, and to all of Purple Mafia. Yep, Merry Christmas to you, Mark Carlson, for sure. You and Jay, of course, your wife there in Iowa as well. Really appreciate all of you. I miss hearing from you guys. Yep, it's been, obviously things have gotten quieter and quieter over the years, which is a bummer, but it's like people just kind of come and go, unfortunately. But Mark, Dave, Gerald, both Daves, Dave Hickey, Dave Martin, Tanae Brown out there from New Zealand. You guys have been so loyal to the show, and I can't thank you enough, because so many people have kind of come and gone over the years. Others have been still listening the whole time. They just don't interact, unfortunately, very much. But they've been listening the whole time, and I really appreciate them. Sam Gupta is a great guy, and he's been very loyal to the show forever. About, 15 years, I think it's been. Wow, no, 16 years. Holy cow. Yeah, this is an old show. I believe the show turns 18. It could be an adult, a young adult, basically. They could smoke cigarettes, basically, on January 28th. Well, not this show, but that'll be like April something, but like my podcasting career. That is freaking weird, isn't it? Pro Mafia started in April of 2008. Anyhow, let's get off of that. The Twitter account, or X account, whatever it's called, at Pro Mafia Show. Who leads things off? You know who it is. Dave Martin, Mad Martin. Merry Christmas, my friend. Time to watch basically a preseason game. And yep, that's what it is. I was responding with, yep, Merry Christmas to you as well, my dear friend. This is absolutely an exhibition, and it shows. Dave Martin replies with the D's playing hard. Clearly turned up offense. Not so much, but no surprise. Yep, it was definitely an exhibition. It's like a postseason game without being playoffs. Post-mortem is more like it, I guess. But maybe that's a little bit morbid. Mad Martin says, Florida's defense is putting a masterclass against Goff. And boy, didn't they. Putting on a masterclass against Goff. Head coaching job coming? Maybe. Maybe. You still got that lawsuit nonsense. I don't know. It could be. It could be. Otherwise, he could be the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league. And luckily, you don't have to worry about salary cap with something like that. And the Wilfs are the type that would pay something like that. So we'll see how this thing turns out. Dave Hickey jumps in, says, this is an amazing defensive performance, but the offensive side is terrible. Can't generate any offense at all. Yeah, I mean, the Brosmer, generally speaking, what did they have, like 3 net yards or something? It's like ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man. Dave Martin, Mad Martin jumps back in. Northern Scotland, Dave Hickey, Iowa. Back to Dave Martin, says, I suspect the Lions were on Santa's naughty list because they certainly earned a lump of coal today. Yeah, I mean, everything fell apart for them. It's just weird. Or are they playing the long game? The 4th place schedule certainly looks a lot easier than the 3rd place schedule. Is Campbell a genius? Yeah, you have a point there, because the Vikings aren't gonna have the 4th place schedule anymore, are they? Unless we somehow lose next week and Detroit wins. Arby jumping back in. It's been a little while. He says, weird season. How do we win a game with 3 passing yards? A lot of work to be done, but 4 weeks ago we had a choice. Tank for draft position or regain some respect, and we opted for the latter. Don't think anyone predicted NFC North standings would be the complete opposite of last year. Yeah, it's weird. Like, the Bears were in last place. The Vikings finished in 2nd. Yeah, it's literally the opposite. Yeah, you nailed that. Detroit won the division, Vikings were in 2nd, Packers were 3rd, and the Bears were in last. Now, if the Bears are the division champs, Packers are 2nd, Vikings are 3rd, and Detroit's in last. It's really weird. It's freaking weird. Yep, and there's a little brief conversation here which we can jump in on. Dave Martin says, where is it? Good to see the team fight, especially the defense yesterday. Yeah, that was later on. So this is like a reply to that conversation. Let's hope B-Flow stays. But I totally get it if he wants a better position with a realistic shot at Lombardi. Lots of work to be done in the offseason. For us, the quarterback position has to be solidified next year. Meaning, like, yeah, is it going to really be McCarthy, or are we going to head in another direction? Yep. But before we can be considered a contender, yep, got to be solidified. The defense takes a serious step back if B-Flow is gone. Add the cap issues and an interesting off-season years. Very much so. Then there's a stock report from Stephen Wang, I guess. That was kind of like thrown in there somehow. Mad Martin says, if I was a Lions fan, it was probably like an ad, basically. If I was a Lions fan, I would be incredibly disappointed with this season. The expectations there were so much higher than ours. The window could have closed for them, and it's possible. That's possible, and yes, it's extremely disappointing. They were a 15-win team last year, and the way they couldn't even win a playoff game is pretty bad, too. It's very strange to see what happens to the Detroit Lions. Eventually be able to get caught up here. Okay. Back to Mad Martin again. Out of contention by Thanksgiving. And what do they do? Win the next 4. That's so Vikings football. It really is. It really is. A couple more from... Yep. Oh, yeah. There's a bit more coming up. That's okay. Definitely okay with me. Looks like three from Dave Hickey and 2 from Matt Martin. So 3 in a row for Dave Hickey here. Maybe some responses mixed in, it looks like. It looks like the Grinch stole Christmas from the Lions. I would say the whole defense won the targeting and the offense with the ponder. Yep, that's a good one. That's about right. Matt Martin says, agreed, Dave. That defense played highly entertaining football. Kyrie and God's people shall know the truth and be set free. Is that Kyrie Irving? Hi, Kyrie. And no, he did not reply to us. I don't know. Somehow, so it's like an ad because it's like maybe a really good, it was a really well received tweet, and it got thrown in there. It even says the word ad way on the side. Let's read that again. Kyrie Irving. Yes. Future Timberwolf, I hope. And God's people shall know the truth and be set free. Amen, Kyrie. I like Kyrie Irving. Anyhow, Matt Martin says, and delivered Detroit a ton of coal. Yes, the defense did do that to the Detroit Lions. Dave Hickey says, about the time I give up on the season and I start thinking about the draft, then they start winning, even though Kwesi hasn't made a decent pick besides the first round and undrafted free agents. Yep. He hasn't been that good, has he? He really hasn't. Him being Kwesi and Dofo-Mensah, of course. Dave Hickey with his last response here, last tweet, says, well, Max Brosmer is definitely not the answer. He is no Brock Purdy. So those of you that think he might have been, he's not. Granted, the O-line has really struggled most of the year, as I saw it. Yep, and yeah, like guys like Ryan Kelly and such, like just a complete wash of a season for him. And yes, to me, Brosmer is not even a backup. He is a third stringer. But yeah, we'll see if he's a third stringer next year. He's like a Brett Ripien, I think, kind of a role going forward, more than likely with the Vikings, the Lions, or whoever. Okay, final tweet. That is it. So those 2 replies were from Matt Martin were included. So I guess that's it. Thank you guys very much. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, like I was saying. And New Year's is right around the corner. The next time we record Purple Mafia, it'll be 2026, which is the weirdest thing ever. Another year in the books. Crazy stuff. Again, like I said, this show started in 2008. It's the oldest podcast in the entire state of Minnesota, regardless of category or topic. It is the oldest podcast in Minnesota. Yeah. It's crazy to think about. The 2008, and we're still recording it in 2026. God willing, with God's will. Anyway, it's an incredible honor to bring this show to you every year. It'll be crazy to see the Vikings finish with a winning record, despite looking so putrid earlier. And absolutely nothing at quarterback, basically, the last few weeks here. Maybe the last 2 games of the season anyway, when it comes to Brosmer quarterbacking this team the last 2 games. Because I don't think it's McCarthy next week. I'd love to see McCarthy if he's ready to go, but I'm not tempting fate when it comes to that at this stage. So we'll see how it goes. We'll talk about the playoff positioning and such. I'm sure those weird all-noon games will be flexed around, the ones that are supposed to be later, because it's crucial stuff. So we'll see how that all turns out, like a team going for a number 1 seed or whatever, or just simply a division championship like Steelers, Ravens, or Bucks and Panthers. I don't see either one of those as primetime football, but maybe it will be. With that said, thank you so much for listening. Please put a positive rating on the show, 5-star rating if you could, in the Apple Podcasts. Other than that, Happy New Year, I guess, and we will talk to you in 2026.